have besides superhero shit, remakes, and sequels to old movies nobody asked for?
If something is good,
Why ruin it?
And that, my friends, is how you know a movie is gonna be a flop. Hi you guys, my name's Ijama, and today we are going to be talking about Coming to America. That's Coming to America as in the number, because we all know the viewers love a good pun. So pretty much this sequel is like the Soul Plane version of the original. Like, it is just, if you have not seen Soul Plane, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but if you've seen it, you know. I actually had to look up the directors of Soul Plane and Coming to America, the sequel, to see if they're the same person. No, they're not. There's 3 different directors from the first movie, the sequel, and Soul Plane. And I just know the original director is either dead, didn't look it up, or just didn't want to do it because he knew it would be a flop. And if he is dead, he's definitely rolling in his grave right now. This movie has a star-studded cast. Everyone from Nelson Mandela playing Morgan Freeman, the guy who reads pears, and the girl from My Super Sweet 16, amongst a whole other list of A through F list celebrities. So my issue with this is they just throw in celebrities every which way, and it doesn't even make sense. Rick Ross was in that movie for about 3 seconds and maybe 3 words. Someone that you would definitely skip over and not realize he was in the movie. Didn't really make sense. Tiana Taylor's character didn't have much of a presence in there. Yeah, she was a main character, still not much of a presence. When you throw in this many celebrities like that, it's just kind of giving them camera time, but it doesn't really work with the plot. And in this movie, this is something that we can definitely see over and over again. A lot of things do not work with the plot, and the plot is very weak that oftentimes, at least me, I forget what it is. So I'm not really going to go through the whole plot. This is kind of a video you would watch if you had seen the movie already. I'm just going to pick out a few points here and there that I think were completely awful. Starting with Wesley Snipes' character. Okay, first of all, when Wesley Snipes walked in, I thought it was Eddie Griffin. I thought it was because I just thought it looked like him. Anyway, it was not. He's like the leader of a rivaling country, basically saying that he needs someone from Eddie Murphy's character, I keep forgetting their names, from that family line to marry someone in his family to join the 2 countries together, or else they're gonna kill Eddie Murphy's character or something like that. You know, whatever. It was a really weak plot point. I'll get into why it was a weak plot point. Anyway, so he's supposed to be an intimidating character, but he comes in with this group of reject step-up dancers to be his army. There's nothing intimidating about him. They have his army playing on DDR machines, which is Dance Revolution, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Half them dancing weird. Rick Ross is part of it. Like, I don't know, not very, like, you don't really get a sense of a high stakes kind of plot line just because I just feel like it's so weak. Anyway, later on, we get to Eddie Murphy's father, played by James Earl Jones. You get to his character. He wants his funeral while he's still alive, and this is where the movie gets very performance-y, very show-offy. I feel like it was just way too many dance numbers, way too many, like, wild costume things, which I think is great, but there was just so many of them, so many songs. They had Salt and Pepper, I think they had Gladys Knight. Who else they have? They had someone else. They had random performances by all these people, and it was just a little bit too much. On the verge of, like, High School Musical. Like, there was a point where it's like, is this like a step up versus like a High School Musical kind of mix that they're doing here? Like, it was very strange, not even close to how the original movie was shot. And I get different director, however, this is like completely different, like, style. Like, they do not correlate in any kind of way whatsoever. Basically, Eddie Murphy does not have a son. He has 3 daughters. The daughters can't rule Zamunda, so he needs someone to rule when he dies. So they tell him he has an illegitimate son that he had the first time he came to America, way back in the 80s. So they go all the way to America, you know, super fast. We're going back to America, or coming to America, whatever. They say the line, okay. They get there, and they get to the barbershop, where we see those Eddie Murphy characters from the barbershop that everyone loved so much. Eddie Murphy's character, I should have really looked up these people's names. I did not. I am so sorry. Shows a picture that this old hag drew of what his son should look like, and the people at the barbershop are like, I know him. You know, he sells tickets at Madison Square Garden. He's probably going to be there tonight. And I'm like, that's, you know, from one point to another, like, they just skipped over something that could have been a good plot point. Like, it should have been, I feel like the movie should have been these people going to find their son, you know, things not working out, they're having trouble finding him, they're going through all these obstacles. So we kind of get you a feel of the original movie where he's going through Queens, New York. Everything is so new to him, the culture's new to him, everything. And I feel like that would have been a great plot point. But no, they're just like, oh yeah, that guy, there's millions of people in New York, and he's like, oh yeah, that guy, he works over there, you know. They go and find his son in the next scene. So between him finding out he has a son and actually finding his son in a completely different country, a different continent, is like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Like, there is no struggle to find his son. He finds his son at Madison Square Garden, selling tickets, and then what happens? He says, "You're my son?" And the guy just takes him home to his mom. There's no question. Like, it would have been funny if he was like, oh, this has to be a crackhead or something. Like, this guy is crazy. Let that be another plot point, like something to move the plot, like trying to convince this guy that you're his dad. But no, it's like, okay, cool, you're my dad. Let's go home. Bring him home. All of a sudden, okay, this guy, he's going back to Zamunda because he's a prince. So when he comes back to Zamunda, another point, this is just examples of how the plot just moves so fast from the interesting parts of it, the parts that should have been interesting. So the Queen of Zamunda learns that the king has an illegitimate son by someone else that he had way back when he first came to America. And she easily accepts this. I don't know what person would. It'd be something different and kind of weird and hard to accept. And her reasoning to accept it is, oh, you're not the first man I've been with. Therefore, you know, the illegitimate son thing doesn't really bother me as much. She doesn't seem very bothered by it, you know, maybe a little bit annoyed by that guy's mother who comes to Zamunda with him, but that's pretty much it. I believe the plotline should have been, you know, going to America, having trouble finding your son, finding him, then you're having trouble convincing him, and then you convince him, okay, come to Zamunda, and then we go to training him instead of just skipping all these things, and then you go straight to training him to be a prince. Now, the three sisters, the youngest sister seems to like the guy, you know, she's just a kid, she thinks he's funny. The middle sister really isn't really there. I don't know her feeling on it. I feel like there is no character for her. And the eldest sister does not like him, like pretty much throughout the whole movie. She's not happy. She's always been the eldest and everything. And, you know, she thought maybe one day she could rule Zamunda, even though the rules are women can't rule. She thought one day it would be her. So, of course, she's having a hard time accepting this random dude coming in from America that she's never met and taking over the throne. Anyway, let's go back to Wesley Snipes' character. His character has a daughter. He wants his daughter to marry this prince so they can join unions because in the back in the day, you know, Eddie Murphy's character was supposed to marry his sister, I believe, the one who was barking in the original movie, and it messed her up. So this is his revenge. He wants something to happen to make things right, or he's going to kill the guy. My issue with this plot point is it's not really brought up enough for you to really like think about it, like remember it. And it's also not really high stakes enough for it to be interesting because Eddie Murphy is still alive. He still has years left on him. So it's like, why does he need to get married to this person within like the next 2 weeks or something, or the next week, when this guy isn't gonna be on the throne? He won't be on the throne until the king dies. So I'm like, why is there such a rush to train this guy and do this and do that? Like, I know they said they're gonna kill him, but why do you need to kill him within a week? Because even if he gets married, the prince gets married in a week, he's not going to be king. So it just didn't make any sense to me. It just wasn't a strong plot driving force. So just like in the first movie, the prince finds someone that he genuinely has a connection with. He doesn't want to get married to the other princess or whatever who royalty wants him to get married to. He finds someone else. I get it. That happens in so many movies. It's kind of a cliche at this point, but I get it. Playing homage to the first movie. My issue is that when he comes to the realization that, no, I don't want this person. I want someone I can have a connection to. I want that woman, the lady who was doing his hair. He only talks to Tiana Taylor's character, which is the person he's supposed to marry, for like 2 seconds before he says this. Like, I felt like when they were doing this at a party, I feel like they should have had them hanging out the whole party, spending time together the whole party, and you can really see how he's not feeling her and all that stuff. Like, it's just not working out. He gave it a try and it's just not gonna happen before he goes and says, I want someone I can build a connection with and do this with and do that with. It was like he asked her 2 questions, like, what are you into? And she's like, oh, whatever you're into, like in the first movie. Do you want to start any businesses? Whatever business you want to start, which is a very strange question to ask someone when you're first trying to get to know them. Like, can you imagine being on a first date and the first question is, do you want to start a business? Like, What type of MLM shit is that? Anyway, of course, he tries to elope with this girl in America. So everyone's flying back, trying to go to America to stop this from happening because it's gonna mess up everybody's plans. Fast forward, for some reason after, you know, Eddie Murphy's character gets to America and finds him again, he allows them to get married. They come back. I think they were allowed to get married because the eldest sisters like beat Wesley Snipes or whatever, and he's like, oh, okay, I guess he doesn't have to marry my daughter anymore. I really didn't understand it. They lost me like a long time ago, to be honest. Anyway, they come back, they have their wedding, and this is something that just irked me throughout the whole movie, and let me tell you why. They had DeVito, or, you know, people like to pronounce it DeVito, whatever. They had him in the movie performing. If you don't know who that is, he is a very, very big Nigerian artist, one of the biggest like African artists. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so they could afford African artists. So how come in the entire movie we don't have African music? It's literally just like hip hop. And it makes sense when they're like in Queens, New York, or the scene where they have the son like being like, I don't want to do things as a Mundan way, I'm gonna put my own like Queen's twist on it. Makes sense, switch to hip hop music. But there was like no time, like even when they were performing at the king's funeral and all this stuff, it wasn't African music, it was all like American music. I'm like, it's set, most of this movie, 90% of this movie is in Zamunda, so why aren't we hearing any African music? And at first I was like, can they not afford it? I'm like, they should with this. They got Morgan Freeman, so they sure as hell can afford the music. There's copyright free music, they can make their own Afro beats, something, you know? I was like, okay, I don't understand it. But then they got DeVito, which I know was super expensive to get, so why weren't they just using his music throughout the movie or something? Like, it didn't make any sense to me. I don't know. I feel like it's an obvious thing to think, hey, it's set in this African country. Let's play African music. Why was it hip hop the whole movie? There's times where hip hop would have made sense, but not all the time. There's no reason why during one of the challenges to see if he can be a prince, where he has to get the whiskers from a lion, that this guy, that they need to play hip hop music. Like, while they're out in the field and with all these animals, like, it didn't make any sense to me. Anyway, towards the end of the movie, I guess the eldest sister was okay with this all happening. I don't really know. I guess he's not going to be prince. I wasn't really sure. They were saying that the eldest sister would be prince or queen, and they never really went over that and like made it like more of a plot point, like, hey, she can, or if the guy is still gonna be king, even though he didn't marry this person, I think he's still gonna be king, but like, I don't know. I felt like the sister hated him the entire movie and there was no character development. Like, nothing happened. Like, I feel like she's always hated the guy. So, I don't know. The mom, the Eddie Murphy's wife, the queen, all of a sudden liked the prince's mom and got along out of nowhere. Like, it was just very, like, let's skip over everything, you know. I can't even explain it. There's so many things wrong with this movie. Another thing that drove me crazy was the product placement. Like, it wasn't like, of course, when you have movies like Coca-Cola or something will, you know, want to be featured in the movie, and they'll find a way to do it and kind of make it make sense. You know, it's product placement, but it's not as obvious. This one, you got the king coming out of the car. There's a Fashion Nova store right there out of nowhere. And I'm just like, first of all, anyone knows Fashion Nova knows that they only have stores in Southern California. They don't have it in New York. Anyway, then you got them showing this and them showing that. They showed Spotify. They showed Spotify the same way they would show it in a music video, where they like pause the music video, pause the music, it's dialogue, and then they start like, they're like, oh, hey, check this out. Check out my Spotify playlist. They show Spotify, click it or whatever, and it goes to whatever. And I'm just like, that was very, like, that was like horrible. I feel like everything they did was, they just tried to make, they wrote the plot around the celebrities they could get and their sponsorships, like their Friskies cat food sponsorship or something. They wrote everything around that, you know? So it just, you can really tell when you watch this movie. It was probably the weakest movie I've seen in a very long time. Like, it was just completely awful. There were parts of this that I actually did like. I like when they showed scenes from the original movie. I like that there were scenes that they threw in stuff from like, that wasn't in the original movie, but they made it seem like it was actually in the original movie. I liked the way that they did that. I thought that was really well done. They did try to bring back like every character from Coming to America, and I get bringing some of them back, but there's some that I just feel like didn't need to be there. They had those rapping twins. I didn't feel like they needed to be there either, but you know, whatever. They wanted to bring back every little throwback moment. Like McDowell's, the way that they brought that back, which if you don't know, McDowell's is the like, it's like their version of McDonald's, you know, the owner just copied it. That's the Queen's father. So they have this McDowell's in Zamunda, and in the beginning you see McDowell's and they have like a vegan burger or something, and then you don't see McDowell's again until the king, Eddie Murphy's character, is mopping the floor in the back randomly. He's like, it helps me think, and you're like, that's the way you got McDowell's to be in this movie? I personally believe that if they had done this in a way where they made the illegitimate son work at McDowell's in America or whatever, it would have been such an easier way to put McDowell's in the plot point rather than having him work at Madison Square Garden selling tickets illegally on the street. Like, I just felt like that would have been a better way to incorporate it instead of just being like, let's throw him in the back, make him mop, and say it helps this guy think. Like, what? So there's a scene in the movie that I put in the beginning where the prince and the girl that he likes who does his hair, they're talking about how sequels are bad and why do they do sequels, like if it ain't broke don't fix it, pretty much. And that's pretty much them like saying, hey, we know this movie is bad, we know it's awful, but you know, we're gonna make fun of it before you can. It's like when you're a kid and you know someone's gonna make fun of you for like a bad haircut, you make fun of the haircut first, so it's like it eases the pain. It's not like it doesn't feel like they're bullying you because like, oh yeah, I'm self-aware. That's what they were doing in this movie. They're saying, we know this movie is ass. We know it's ass, you know? And I don't think, yeah, this movie went straight to Amazon Prime. It probably would have gone straight to theaters had the pandemic not been a thing and theaters were open. However, this is definitely a straight to DVD, straight to streaming services movie anyway, because I cannot imagine paying a movie ticket to see that. Like, it could not keep my attention. It's the reason I didn't want to rewatch the movie, just to do this video. I just wanted it to be me just saying how I felt after watching it the one time. I watched it last night when it came out. So I'm sure there's so many things that like bother me that I didn't say in this video because I feel like this video is really long already, so I just don't want to keep going. But this is how I feel about the video, or about the movie. Not really a fan. I honestly rated it a 0 out of 10, but I think that's really harsh, so I'm gonna rate it like a 2.5 to 3. Rotten Tomatoes is gonna go ham on this thing. Oh my god. But that's my review of this movie. I'm sure I skipped a few things. I'm sure there's a lot of things people agree with. Maybe there's some things people don't agree with. I don't really know. However, this is just my opinion, how I feel about the movie. So yeah, if you guys watched the whole video, I want to thank you guys so much because I know it's long, I know I ramble, I know it was hard for me to kind of put these thoughts in order because some things overlapped. So I didn't really know how to like order it, and I've never really done like a movie review before. So this is like my first attempt at doing one, and I hope that it was like alright. I'll try to do better if I do another one. But thank you for watching. If you want to subscribe to me and like the video, that would be great, or leave a comment. Also, I'm going to link my socials here or here, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Thanks for watching.